At 5:20 on January 1st, 1945, the briefing room at Munster-Handorf Airfield is dimly lit and thick with cigarette smoke. Outside, frost coats the concrete. Inside, Oberleutnant Karl-Heinz Weber, 23 years old, 140 combat hours, stands shoulder to shoulder with pilots who have barely survived the last 6 months. Maps are pinned to the wall. Red grease pencil lines cut across Belgium and the Netherlands. The target list is already written. Allied airfields: Brussels, Grimbergen, Asch, Eindhoven, Metz-Freskede. The plan is simple: low-level attack. Surprise. One blow to cripple Allied air power on the Western Front. At 5:32, Luftwaffe weather officer enters the room with a folder stamped Wetterdienst. He clears his throat. He reports low cloud cover over the Ardennes, visibility under 800 meters, broken cloud at 300 meters, heavy ground fog across Allied forward airfields. Confirms what the pilots want to hear. Allied fighters will be grounded, anti-aircraft crews will be blind. Surprise is assured. Weber looks down at his kneeboard. Fuel load: 490 liters in internal tanks, no drop tanks. Armament: 2 MG-131 machine guns with 300 rounds each. 2 MG-151 cannon with 200 rounds total. His aircraft is a Focke-Wulf FW-190A8. Empty weight 3,200 kilograms. Its fully loaded weight just over 4,900. Maximum speed at sea level 408 miles per hour. Treetop height closer to 360. At 5:45, engines start. It's BMW 801 radials cough, then roar. The sound rolls across the frozen field. At 5:58, Weber taxis behind his Staffel leader. The sky above Germany is gray, low, and heavy. Everything matches the report. At 6:12, the first aircraft lifts off. What none of them know is that the weather report is already wrong. The wider situation makes this mission desperate before it even begins. By January 1945, the Luftwaffe is bleeding out. Since June 6, 1944, Allied air forces have flown over 1.2 million sorties over Western Europe. Bomber Command and the 8th Air Force have dropped more than 950,000 tons of bombs. The German fighter force has lost over 5,000 aircraft in the West alone. Pilot training time has collapsed from 240 hours in 1942 to less than 110 hours by late 1944. Fuel shortages have grounded entire grouping. The Allies, by contrast, are flooding the sky. In December 1944, the U.S. 9th Air Force alone averages 3,000 sorties per day. Tactical air power is the backbone of the Allied advance. Columns move by day. Supply dumps sit in the open. German units cannot maneuver without being attacked from the air within minutes. Then, on December 16, 1944, Germany launches its last gamble. The Ardennes Offensive. Operation Wacht am Rhein. Nearly 200,000 troops push through the forest in an attempt to split the Allied front. For the first days, weather saves them. Low cloud grounds Allied aircraft. German armor moves unseen. By December 23rd, the weather clears. Allied fighters return in overwhelming numbers. German columns are shredded. Fuel convoys burn, bridges collapse, the offensive stalls. The Luftwaffe leadership sees one last chance. If Allied air power can be neutralized even for 48 hours, the ground offensive might survive. On December 24th, Adolf Hitler personally approves a massive surprise air attack. Nearly 900 fighters and fighter bombers, almost every serviceable aircraft left in the West, the target: Allied airfields in Belgium, the Netherlands, and northeastern France. The operation is named Bodenplatte. Planning is rushed. Coordination is minimal. Many pilots are not told their target until the night before. Radio silence is ordered. Navigation will rely on landmarks and timing. Any delay risks missing the targets entirely. Weather is everything. Low cloud is required to mask the approach. Clear conditions over the targets are required for visual attack. The operation is scheduled for New Year's morning, when Allied pilots are expected to be slow to respond. By December 31st, losses mount even before takeoff. Aircraft break down, crews fall ill, fuel allocations are cut again. Some Gruppen receive less than 60% of their requested fuel. Still, the plan moves forward. Failure would not simply waste aircraft. It would destroy the last trained fighter pilots Germany possesses. It would leave the Western Front completely exposed. It would end any hope of air cover for German ground forces. The entire gamble rests on a single assumption: that the weather will behave as predicted. The core problem is not courage or surprise, it is geometry and arithmetic. From Münster-Handorf to the first target airfields in Belgium is roughly 210 miles. At low level, cruising at 300 miles per hour to avoid radar detection, that is a 42-minute flight one way. Add 15 minutes of combat time, add the return leg. Total flight time approaches 1 hour and 40 minutes. The FW-190A8 carries approximately 525 liters of fuel internally. At low altitude and high power settings, fuel consumption averages 220 liters per hour. That leaves little margin. No drop tanks are carried to preserve performance, and because many aircraft lack the plumbing, any delay of more than 10 minutes risks fuel exhaustion on the return. Navigation is equally unforgiving. Without radio aids, a deviation of just 5 degrees over 100 miles shifts the formation nearly 9 miles off course. At treetop height, that is the difference between finding an airfield and flying straight past it. Then there is timing. The entire attack depends on simultaneous arrival. If one Gruppe arrives early, Allied crews scramble. If one arrives late, defenses are awake. And over all of it hangs the weather. Low cloud protects the approach. Clear skies doom it. The mathematics are brutal. If Allied airfields are fogged in, fighters remain on the ground. If the cloud lifts even briefly, hundreds of Allied aircraft can take off within minutes. P-51 Mustangs climb at over 3,000 feet per minute. Spitfire MKXs can be airborne in under 2 minutes. Tempests reach 400 miles per hour at low level. The German fighters, heavy with fuel and ammunition, cannot outrun them once detected. Every calculation assumes the weather report is correct. The technology at the heart of this gamble is not an aircraft or a weapon. It is meteorology. By late 1944, the Allies possess a vast weather intelligence network: Atlantic weather ships, long-range reconnaissance aircraft, upper air balloon data. Synoptic charts updated every 6 hours. Forecasts are shared across commands. Pilots receive updates even after takeoff. The Luftwaffe does not. German weather forecasting has been crippled by Allied naval dominance. Whether ships have been sunk or captured, Atlantic observation stations are gone. Upper air data is sparse. Forecasts rely heavily on ground reports and extrapolation. On December 31st, German forecasters predict persistent low cloud over Belgium and the Netherlands into the morning of January 1. They are wrong by a margin of hours. A high-pressure system moves faster than expected. Cold, dry air pushes in behind the departing front. Over Allied airfields, cloud breaks before dawn. Visibility improves to over 10 kilometers in places, lifts unevenly, creating dangerous pockets of clear sky. Allied meteorologists see it coming. They issue updated reports late on December 31st. Squadrons are warned that flying conditions may improve rapidly after sunrise. German pilots never receive this information. To the Luftwaffe command, the weather appears stable. To Allied crews, it is improving. Weber does not know any of this as he climbs out over the Rhine at 6:25, flying no higher than 50 meters above the ground. He watches church steeples slide past his canopy. He smells exhaust and cold air. His engine runs at 2,300 RPM, fuel gauge already edging downward. The radio remains silent. Ahead of him, the formation disappears into the gray. And somewhere west of the Ardennes, the cloud is already breaking. If you are finding this story valuable, take a moment to support the channel. Like the video. Subscribe if you want more historically precise World War II documentaries built on real numbers and real decisions. Your support keeps these stories alive and visible. Back to Weber. At 6:48, as the German formations cross into Belgium, the first shafts of sunlight punch through the cloud deck. Over Allied airfields, ground crews look up and realize the day is flyable. Engines begin to turn. Fighters begin to taxi. The weather report has already doomed the raid. At 6:51, Weber's compass steadies on a heading of 258 degrees. Altitude holds at 40 meters. Airspeed 290 miles per hour. The formation stretches thin as aircraft weave to avoid church spires and power lines. Frost still clings to the fields below, but ahead, the horizon is lighter. The cloud is breaking faster than expected. At 6:54, the first problem appears. The lead swarm overshoots a river bend that should mark the turn north toward Ash Airfield. The Staffel leader banks late. 2 aircraft follow. 3 do not. Weber stays with his rotten fur, trusting his map and stopwatch. According to the plan, the airfield should be 12 miles ahead. Fuel remaining, approximately 410 liters. At 6:57, flak erupts ahead. Light caliber, 20 millimeter. Not heavy enough to be a defended city. Should not be happening. The element of surprise is already eroding. Weber pushes throttle to emergency power for 10 seconds, climbing to 80 meters to clear a tree line. Speed increases to 320 miles per hour. Fuel consumption spikes. At 6:59, the cloud cover collapses entirely. The sky opens to pale blue. Sunlight floods the cockpit. Below, the airfield comes into view. Ash. Runways clearly visible. No fog. Aircraft already moving. At 7 o'clock exactly, Weber counts 8 P-51 Mustangs lined up on the southern dispersal. 2 are already rolling. The geometry is wrong. The attack begins anyway. At 7:01, the first German aircraft dives. Bombs release at 200 meters. Act. 1 explosion near a fuel dump. Secondary fire blooms. Weber rolls inverted, lines up on the dispersal area. Range closes from 800 yards to 300. He fires a 2-second burst from the MG-151 cannon. Approximately 40 rounds leave the barrels. Tracers walk across the wing of a Mustang. The left wing route flashes. The aircraft slews sideways and collapses into the grass. 1 confirmed destruction, ammo remaining. Cannon rounds down to roughly 160. At Tiedanlinarfen, return fire erupts. Mustang lifts off directly ahead, wheels retracting. Its pilot fires blindly as he climbs. .50 caliber rounds streak past Weber's canopy. 1 strikes the cowling. Oil pressure flickers, but stabilizes. Weber yanks the stick left, pulling for G's at treetop height. Altitude drops to 20 meters. Fuel remaining, approximately 360 liters. At 7:03, another Mustang lifts off. This one turns aggressively into Weber's path. The American has speed advantage. Weber cannot climb. He levels out and accelerates. Airspeed 340 miles per hour. The Mustang closes from behind at an estimated 380. At 7:04, tracers pass within meters. Weber jinks right, then left, staying below 50 meters to force the American to risk ground impact. The Mustang overshoots slightly. Weber snaps into a climbing left turn, firing a 1-second burst at 200 yards. 10 to 15 rounds. 1 strikes the radiator scoop. White vapor trails behind the Mustang. The American breaks off, climbing steeply. Engine failure follows seconds later. The aircraft rolls inverted and impacts beyond the perimeter fence. Second, confirmed destruction. Ammo remaining. Cannon down to roughly 140 rounds. Machine guns largely untouched. At 7:06, radio silence shatters. German voices break discipline. Warnings, fighters airborne. Multiple contacts. Weber pulls east, skimming the ground. His watch shows the planned time over target already exceeded by 6 minutes. Fuel remaining, approximately 310 liters. At 7:08, 3 Spitfire MKIXs appear from the north at 2,000 feet. Speed advantage overwhelming. Weber dives into a shallow valley. Altitude drops to 10 meters. Trees blur past. 1 Spitfire fires. 20-millimeter shells detonate behind Weber. Shockwave rattles the cockpit. No direct hits. At 7:10, Weber clears the valley and breaks west. The Spitfires overshoot, unwilling to follow at such low altitude. He regains 50 meters and checks fuel again. Fuel remaining, approximately 280 liters. At 7:12, he encounters another German FW-190 flying alone. Smoke trails from its engine. The pilot rocks wings and points west. The mission is over. Survival now matters more than targets. At 7:15, 2 Tempests appear ahead, faster than anything Weber has faced. Top speed over 430 miles per hour at low altitude. He has no chance in a chase. He turns south, hugging a canal. Speed maxed at 360, fuel burns at an alarming rate. At 7:17, one Tempest fires. Rounds strike the right wing. Control response stiffens. Weber rolls hard left, then dives to 5 meters. Spray erupts from the canal as his prop wash hits the water. The Tempest breaks off, unwilling to follow that low. Fuel remaining. Approximately 240 liters. At 7:20, Weber crosses back toward German lines. Anti-aircraft fire erupts again. It's time-friendly. The gunners do not know who he is. He rocks wings violently. Flak ceases after 5 seconds. At 7:24, the Rhine appears ahead. He crosses at 30 meters. Engine temperature rising, oil pressure wavering again, fuel remaining. Approximately 190 liters. At 7:28, Weber throttles back slightly to conserve fuel. Speed drops to 280. The air is calmer. The sky behind him is filled with contrails. The rate has failed. At 7:33, the engine coughs once. Weber pushes mixture rich. Oil pressure dips but holds, fuel remaining. Approximately 120 liters. At Tiefen, Münster-Handorf comes into view. Smoke rises from the field. Several aircraft burn near the runway. Emergency flares mark damaged sections. At 7:40, Weber lowers landing gear. Speed 160 miles per hour. Altitude 200 meters. Fuel remaining, approximately 70 liters. At 7:42, he touches down hard but intact. The engine dies as he rolls out. Total flight time, 1 hour and 30 minutes. Confirmed results. 2 Allied fighters destroyed.
One damaged.
Mission losses across the sector exceed 50%. The weather did not protect them, it exposed them. At 7:43, Weber taxis clear of the runway on momentum alone. The engine is silent. The propeller stops turning. Ground crew wave him toward a revetment already crowded with damaged aircraft. Smoke hangs low over the field. Ambulances move between craters. The sky above is now fully clear. Fuel remaining at shutdown is estimated at under 15 liters. Less than 4 minutes of flight time at cruise power. Any delay over the Rhine would have ended it. As Weber climbs out of the cockpit, another FW-190 attempts to land. Its left gear collapses. The aircraft skids, slews, and catches fire. The pilot escapes with burns. This scene repeats across Western Germany for the next hour. Aircraft returning late, aircraft running dry. Aircraft shot down by friendly flak that never received warning. The danger is not finished yet. At 8:05, Allied fighter sweeps begin crossing the Rhine. P-47 Thunderbolts and P-51 Mustangs range freely. Luftwaffe fields are now targets. Münster-Handorf comes under attack at 8:17. Bombs strike the eastern perimeter. 1 hangar collapses. 2 aircraft on the ground are destroyed. Weber is ordered into a trench as strafing fire rakes the field. .50 caliber rounds tear through parked aircraft. The attack lasts 6 minutes. When it ends, the field is unusable. The final insult comes not from the enemy, but from arithmetic. Of the aircraft that launched from Weber's wing that morning, fewer than half return. Several pilots are unaccounted for. Others land at alternate fields and are captured. Some crash within sight of home. The raid is over. The debrief begins the same afternoon in scattered locations across Germany. Intelligence officers piece together reports from survivors. Times are logged, locations marked, claims compared against Allied loss records. At Asch, Allied records confirm the destruction of 2 P-51 Mustangs on the ground and 1 shot down after takeoff during the opening minutes. Across all targets, German pilots claim over 300 Allied aircraft destroyed. The reality is far harsher. Post-war analysis confirms approximately 305 Allied aircraft destroyed or damaged, many on the ground. It is a blow, but one that is quickly absorbed. Allied production replaces these losses within days. German losses are catastrophic. Out of roughly 900 aircraft committed, between 250 and 300 are destroyed. More than 200 experienced pilots are killed or missing. Many are flight leaders, men who cannot be replaced. Weber's 2 confirmed victories are recorded, but they mean little. He does not become an ace. He does not receive a ceremony. He is simply reassigned to another depleted unit. The strategic impact becomes clear within 48 hours. Allied air operations resume almost immediately. By January 3rd, sortie rates return to normal. Close air support resumes over the Ardennes. German ground forces are again exposed to constant attack. The Luftwaffe, however, is finished as an effective fighting force in the West. Before January 1st, 1945, the Luftwaffe could still mount localized resistance. After Bodenplatte, it cannot. The loss of trained pilots proves fatal. Many units exist only on paper. Aircraft sit idle for lack of crews. The Ardennes offensive collapses fully by mid-January. German forces retreat. Fuel shortages worsen, air cover disappears. A single weather error did not lose the war, but it accelerated the end. After the war, Weber survives. He spends months in captivity. He returns to civilian life quietly. He does not write memoirs. He rarely speaks of that morning. Like many Luftwaffe pilots, he understands that survival was often decided by forces beyond skill or courage. The FW-190A8 that carried him that day does not survive the year. Most are destroyed on the ground or scrapped after capture. The aircraft is replaced in Allied service studies by newer designs that integrate longer range, better situational awareness, and above all, reliable weather intelligence. The lesson is absorbed deeply. Modern air warfare treats weather as a weapon. Forecasting becomes integrated into planning at every level. Satellite observation replaces ships and balloons. Commanders no longer assume conditions will hold. They build margins. They plan contingencies. The principle is simple. Air power lives and dies by information. On January 1st, 1945, the numbers tell the story clearly. Nearly 900 aircraft launched. Over 250 lost, more than 200 pilots gone. Allied losses recovered within days. German losses permanent. Thousands of ground troops lose what little air cover they had left. The war in the West enters its final phase. History often turns on decisions made in quiet rooms. On that morning, it turned on a weather report delivered with confidence and accepted without question. If you want to support stories like this, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share where you are watching from in the comments. Thank you for helping keep these moments of history alive and remembered.